Rolls-Royce builds the most luxurious cars in the world, and the richest people dream of owning one. But surprisingly, the company was started by a boy who spent his entire childhood working in poverty as a child laborer. His story isn't just inspiring, it begins way back in the year 1863. Henry Royce was born in a small village in England. When he was just 4 years old, his father's business failed and his entire family ended up homeless. Sadly, this wasn't the end of their problems, it was just the beginning. At just 9 years old, Royce lost his father forever. His mother had to work as a maid and Royce started delivering newspapers to survive. Until now, life had been only pain and struggle, but everything began to change when he turned 14 and a new opportunity appeared. His aunt saw great potential in young Henry. She approached the Great Northern Railway Company and paid £20 per year to get Royce admitted as an apprentice. For the next 3 years, Royce worked day and night without rest. He read many books and practiced every skill inside the factory. He learned carpentry, math, and most importantly, electronics. By the time he was just 17, he had become a skilled and confident mechanic. By the age of 21, he was working as an engineer at a company called Maxim Western. But financial problems pushed the company very close to shutting down and closing forever. Royce had offers from other companies, but instead of taking a job, he made a bold move and started his own electrical engineering company from scratch. He used all his savings, just £20, and opened a small office in Manchester to begin. Royce Company. He also brought in his friend Ernest Claremont as a partner. To survive, Royce accepted every job he could, like repairing sewing machines and electrical fittings. Later, Royce noticed rising demand for electric lights and fittings, so he began making arc lamps, bulb holders, and doorbells. This step turned things around. By 1900, company sales crossed £20. At 38, Royce had a family and planned a big factory. Everything was going well when a sudden twist came. In 1901, German and American companies aggressively entered the competitive British electronics market, shaking everything up. Suddenly, competition rose and prices of electronics dropped sharply. Despite all efforts, Royce's company slowly crashed. Watching his hard-built business fail completely, Royce's physical and mental health started to break down very quickly and severely. When Royce consulted a doctor, he received a simple piece of advice. To heal, the doctor advised him to spend time in fresh air. He also suggested Royce should buy a car so he could travel more easily, without putting strain on himself. Royce went on a break and bought a French-made car, Decoville. But it was noisy, had weak brakes, often overheated, and lacked the quality, comfort, and reliability Royce truly expected in a vehicle. For a perfectionist like Royce, that car was not acceptable. So, he started making a few changes to improve the car. But without realizing, he had completely redesigned it from the ground up. The new version was far better than the original. It gave Royce the confidence to build his own cars and run a car business. He built a small team and began carefully designing his very first car model. Once all the parts were sketched, they were sent for casting. Royce's new 10 horsepower 2-cylinder car took shape and it beat all other cars in silence, strength, durability and reliability, proving his engineering skill and vision to create something truly world-class and innovative. On April 1904, it was tested on the road for the first time. It successfully traveled 50 kilometers without any issues, without any problems. Royce had 2 more cars of the same model built, and by repeatedly testing them, he began to improve them further. Now that he had started improving them, he had already built world-class cars, but he alone was not capable of bringing these cars to the entire world, and that's when the story's second hero, Charles Rolls, enters. Royce was presenting his cars at an exhibition, and it was there that Charles Rolls noticed these cars. Charles Rolls was a passionate motorist and ran a successful business dealing in superior quality cars. Rolls was already searching for a luxury British car manufacturer. So he met Royce and closely examined the new car with great interest. He was so impressed by Royce that later he told one of his business partners that he had found the world's greatest engineer. Within the next 3 months, Charles Rolls and Henry Royce agreed to start a joint venture to sell these cars, and the cars sold through this joint venture were to be called Rolls-Royce. March 1906, Rolls-Royce Limited was officially established and it was decided to supply the first 4 models of Rolls-Royce with 10, 15, 20 and 30 horsepower. Rolls believed that the best way to market any car was to participate in racing tournaments with that car. That's why Rolls took part in prestigious tournaments like the Isle of Man Tourist Trophy. And by using Rolls-Royce cars, he even won those races. Along with this, they also set several new speed records with these cars. Because of all this, Rolls-Royce had already established itself as a great car company. But their most successful car was yet to come. At the end of 1906, Royce launched a model with 40 and 50 horsepower and 6 cylinders. The body of this car was silver in color and it was extremely smooth and silent to drive. Just like a ghost, and that's why it was named the Silver Ghost. To market the car, Rolls planned a 24 0-kilometer endurance test in which the Silver Ghost was driven continuously day and night for 2.5 months, except on Sundays, covering a distance of 24 0-kilometers. The Silver Ghost passed this test without any issues. In addition, Rolls organized several demonstrations in which he put the Silver Ghost through the whisper test. In this test, he would balance a coin on the car's bonnet and drive it without letting the coin fall, proving that the car was extremely smooth. Thanks to these very strategies, the Silver Ghost became popular everywhere as the best car in the world, and it became the first choice of kings, queens and industry leaders of that era. The decision to form a partnership between Rolls and Royce was a masterstroke. They were achieving success from all sides when suddenly a terrible accident occurred. Along with cars, Charles Royce was also passionate about aviation. On July 12, 1910, he was flying a plane called the Wright Flyer. During the flight, the aircraft's tail section broke off and the plane crashed from a height of 100 feet. In this accident, 32-year-old Charles Royce lost his life. Unfortunately, he became the first person in Britain to lose his life in an airplane accident. This accident had a deep impact on Royce. He was just trying to recover from this loss when in 1911 he was hit by another blow. His health deteriorated rapidly and doctors told him he had bowel cancer. He underwent a major operation. But even then, doctors said he would only live 3 more months. Even in this condition, Royce continued to improve the design and engineering of the Silver Ghost from his bed, and then a miracle happened. Before anyone knew it, 3 months had passed and Royce had achieved a full recovery. After returning, Royce made major improvements to the Silver Ghost. The ground clearance was increased, the suspension was improved, and the chassis was also made stronger. During this time, Rolls-Royce noticed that a trend had started of placing personalized mascots on car bonnets. But the company was concerned that people were putting inappropriate mascots, which could negatively impact the image of Rolls-Royce. That's why they decided to design their own mascot. For their mascot, they used Eleanor Thornton, a British actress and model. This sculpture depicts a graceful woman leaning forward. Her arms are stretched backward and a strong wind is blowing over her. This mascot symbolizes a sense of grace, freedom and speed. Its name is the Spirit of Ecstasy. Ecstasy means overwhelming happiness. Because of all these improvements, Rolls-Royce's sales and profits were growing exponentially. By 1913, their profit had exceeded £90,000, and there were also plans to expand branches internationally. But then, something happened again that almost ruined Rolls-Royce. World War I. In 1914, World War I began, but Rolls-Royce was not prepared for it. Because of the war, the economy crashed, and the impact was felt most by luxury car companies like Rolls-Royce. Sales crashed and the company had to lay off employees. Everyone thought that Rolls-Royce would not survive the war, but Royce had entirely different plans in mind. Royce met with military authorities, after which he realized that there was a dire need for reliable and high-performance vehicles during the war. That's why Rolls-Royce modified the Silver Ghost and turned it into an armored car. An 8mm thick armor was installed on the car's body. A revolving turret was also added in which a machine gun was fitted. This car was used to conduct operations in the harsh desert regions of the Middle East. Plus, it was also used for spying missions. Also, because the Silver Ghost was very smooth to drive, it was the best vehicle for carrying any wounded soldier. That's why many Silver Ghosts were modified to serve as war ambulances. They were equipped with stretchers, medical equipment and enough space for nurses, and electric lighting was installed for nighttime missions. These ambulances saved thousands of lives. Finally, because of their luxury features, Rolls-Royce cars were also used by high-ranking officers, diplomatic missions and royal messengers during the war. While working closely with the military, Rolls-Royce realized that the British Air Force was heavily dependent on French companies for their airplane engines, and the government was desperately hoping that a British company would supply them with engines instead. Seeing this opportunity, Rolls-Royce entered the field of aero engine manufacturing. Royce learned to design aero engines and in 1915 launched his first engine, the Eagle. This engine was more reliable, lighter and more fuel efficient than the competition. That's why the British Air Force ordered 500 Eagle engines by year's end. But Royce didn't stop. In late 1915, he developed the Hawk engine for light aircraft. In 1916, a smaller Eagle, the Falcon, was developed. And in 1918, the Condor engine was created for large, long-range aircraft. Because of these engines, Britain gained a major advantage in aerial combat, spying missions, anti-submarine operations and bombing missions, and this became an important reason for their victory. Rolls-Royce's entry into aero engine manufacturing proved to be a brilliant step, and even today thousands of commercial and military aircraft use Rolls-Royce engines. World War I ended in 1918, and for the next 15 years Royce focused on both cars and aero engines. He launched a smaller and cheaper car called the 20. Unfortunately, the sales of the 20 were not very impressive. By 1925, competition in the luxury car market had increased greatly due to brands like Bentley, Deligne and Cadillac, and Rolls-Royce needed a bold car to maintain its position. That's why they launched the new Phantom, replacing the Silver Ghost, with better performance and four-wheel brakes. The Phantom was quite successful and once again made Rolls-Royce the king of the luxury car market. Later on, the Phantom 2 was also launched, which was equally well received. In 1931, Rolls-Royce acquired Bentley, which was about to go bankrupt. And after this, Royce designed another iconic car, the Bentley 3.5 liters, which was a successful blend of these two great brands, Rolls-Royce and Bentley. But unfortunately, Royce was never able to see this car with his own eyes. On 21 April 1933, 70-year-old Sir Henry Royce died a few months before the car went into production. From the death of Sir Henry Royce until today, Rolls-Royce has seen many ups and downs. On one hand, they launched cars like the Phantom 3, Silver Shadow and Ghost, while on the other hand, they faced financial difficulties in the 1960s, causing their aviation and automobile businesses to be separated, and currently Rolls-Royce Motors is owned by BMW. But even today, Rolls-Royce remains the greatest symbol of ultimate luxury because of its iconic cars. Owning a Rolls-Royce is like owning a true masterpiece, one that beautifully symbolizes Royce's perfection and Rolls' remarkable charisma.